So last winter I managed to break the spreader disc on my John Deere SS1036 salt spreader, so I had to replace that disc. And to do that I had to remove this agitator, which was designed horribly actually. The bar across the top actually blocked you from getting at the bolt, so we ended up having to cut a hole in it and then almost virtually destroy this thing to get it off based on the amount of corrosion. So here you can see everything disassembled. The hole I had to cut in the hopper itself, and then the two original gates, which were really corroded. So we'll go through this step by step. Step one here, I was just cleaning up the hopper, grinding off all the rust, and then we'll put a fresh coat of paint on it. So clearly, other than the paint, there was no rust protection on this metal, and you can see the clouds of rust dust that I'm kicking up. So if you're ever doing something like this, definitely wear a respirator. Next step, preparing for some paint. So we're going to put some rust converter on here to protect the metal I had to expose and prevent any rust that's still remaining from progressing further. Handy little chemical. I don't recommend you get this on your hands. So you can see the little brush I've got there to kind of spread it around. Next step in the rebuild, I've got to repair that hole I cut in the hopper. So here I'm cutting a piece of sheet steel out with my plasma torch. I really love using this thing. It's as close as I'll ever be to becoming Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber. So here's the piece of sheet steel. I put a little bend in it by hand just to match the curve of the hopper, and then we weld it in place. Final patch. It isn't pretty, but it'll work. It's now just putting some primer on any of the exposed metal, and then we'll put a final coat of paint on it, and we'll be done with the hopper. Now on to rebuilding the gate mechanism. I bought a sheet of stainless steel. My thought was originally to rebuild this entire component, but what I ended up deciding to do was just rebuilding the gates and then rust coating and just using the original hardware. So I cut the sheet steel to size, drilled some holes in it, milled out that space, and then got it ready for reassembly. Next, I rebuilt the agitator using all stainless steel, so I should never have to replace this. I tried to use the bits I had from the other components, so again, not the prettiest thing ever, and if you're trying to learn from my welding, I would suggest other channels. But again, just trying to weld something up that would not rust and do the job of the previous agitator. I did modify the design by moving the top bar 90 degrees away from the bolt, so hopefully an improvement over the original design. And then last piece I needed was a cotter pin to hold the spreader disc on the shaft. Thankfully rebuilding was easy, so here you can see the disc, then the hopper, then there was a guard, and then finally the agitator and the gates, and we ended up with a working salt spreader. As always, thanks for watching, and remember, live for today, but build for tomorrow.